Hey, I'm Jess Birken with Birken Law Office. With me today is Megan Tarnow of the Mobius Group. And what do we want to call this segment? I don't know what we're calling this segment yet, but we want to talk about a concept called Whose Nonprofit Is This Anyway?
Oh, yeah.
So I know that you and I have talked about this before, where we will both get phone calls from potential clients where they say, I need some help with my nonprofit, or
I have a nonprofit.
Yeah, or I have a nonprofit business.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an interesting mindset that there are folks out there who are very entrepreneurial. And I know because I do consultations with people about whether they should start a nonprofit frequently. Mm-hmm. And half the time I talk them out of it because they really are wanting a for-profit business.
Right.
But what they want is they want to have their cake and eat it too, right? They want to have a for-profit business with tax-deductible gifts.
And you can kind of get that through fiscal sponsorship. You can, if you can get someone to sponsor you, and it's sort of in theory.
I mean, Fiscal sponsor is taking on they're extending their C3 status to you and making your program
part of their
organization. You don't own anything when you do that. Their board is responsible
true.
For you. You just work at this nonprofit.
But you can run a program without getting your own standalone 501c3.
Yes, but
that doesn't belong to you either.
It doesn't belong to you, and you can't run that program without the oversight of someone else.
That's true.
And that I think for me is where I see people want the control, mm-hmm. and they don't like the idea of the board that gets to make all the decisions or potentially fire you when you're the founder. There's a lot of
that's why people do crazy stuff, right? Like stock the board with just friends and family, so they can pretend they have a board, and yet those people just sort of rubber stamp.
Yeah, don't get
their
me started
decisions
on that.
I think we could.
That's a whole world. There's so many things people do like that, or want to do. And to be fair, when I do my consultations, we have those conversations, and I say, I get it. I understand you want to have your wife and your brother and your cousin on the board, but then once I explain to them the liability of those people and the fiduciary duties, most people understand, this is not a nice thing to do to my family.
Right. Because ideally you're running everything on the up and up, and no one ends up on the front of the newspaper for all the wrong reasons, and nobody goes to prison. But if you are running a nonprofit as your personal slush fund, all of those are things that can happen, and we've seen it. Is why Jess and I both flag it, because there are certainly situations where I have run across nonprofit executive directors, usually the founder, who describe themselves as self-employed. It's no, you're not at all.
That's a huge red flag. Or folks who are, hey, I wrote a book and I have this idea where I really want to get my book into the hands of all the teachers or all the therapists or all the whoever. So what I'll do is I'll start a nonprofit, and then the nonprofit will buy the book from me and give it away. That is a very entrepreneurial idea.
I think you can do that. Can you do that?
You cannot do that. No, that is not okay. That's lining your own pockets.
Because there are laws against self-dealing in nonprofits, and there are rules about conflict of interest.
Right. It's a creative approach, though. It's a creative approach that I hear quite often.
More than once someone has come to you with that?
Yeah.
Really?
For sure. Yes. But, it might not be a book. It might be something else. But, there's a lot of...
Where it's a way of selling something that no one would otherwise buy from you.
Right.
It's creative. I like it. I mean, I don't, but...
Yeah. So I think, I guess what's the takeaway for this video is just remember that you don't own a nonprofit. No one owns a nonprofit. The nonprofit is an asset of the community.
Right. And it is, if anyone owns it, it's the stakeholders. So it answers to its board of directors, who are required to be independent, not a bunch of people who work for the nonprofit or in some way paid by the nonprofit or related to the people who work for the nonprofit. And also the stakeholders in the community, the people that you serve, are also, I think, not legally, I guess, but
Yep.
are
Yeah.
stakeholders.
And if you're not sure that you should be starting a nonprofit, keep watching these videos.
Talk to Jess.
Get
She
my
can help
class.
you figure that out.
Because I can help you figure that out and we'll set you on the right track and,
Yeah.
and make sure that you don't have the IRS coming to take your couch or something.
That would be awful.
Right?
Nobody wants to go to jail.
Nobody wants to go to jail. That's
nobody.
right. All right. Well, that was good. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.